Just fucking do it. Subscribe now. He's telling Sally this and then Sally says, I think you better tell Dan this. I'm drinking and shots and, oh, fuck. Anyway, and then he tells me, which put a dark shadow over my fucking birthday there. And Nepal is special. Kathmandu is special. For those of you who've never been, I would go. Anyway, so I told him what to do. None of which he did. Now, the problem is his grandmother had just passed away and left him 500,000 pounds. So he had money. He didn't use it properly. He called lawyers, a pro bono lawyer, bullshit. And the fact that the board all agreed with him didn't mean a goddamn thing because the company wasn't there anymore. They formed a special quirk in UK law that what they did wasn't illegitimate. It was, not Marquess of Queensberry, but you could do that. So 66% can force 33% down to 5% and reissue shares. And he got fucked. He had put up, he did that model not exactly opposite, but almost opposite when he looked for money and he did this and he did that. He didn't have a full dream team, et cetera, et cetera. But I still felt sorry for him, and I don't feel sorry for too many. I felt more guilt because his family treated me like King Farouk, spending gobs of money on me, helicoptering me around and, although it's not that expensive in Kathmandu, but it's still a lot of money for a local. And so he wound up with his thumb up his ass. I can't begin to tell you how many emails I get like this a year. The odds are, one or two of you, I'll get an email like this. The odds, using stats across the board, 25 people, but just like there's going to be, the odds are 1 billionaire, odds are there's going to be one of these. Now you all say, this is stupidity, right? How could that happen? Right, Doc? This is stupidity. How could that happen? I would never let that happen to me. Right? We'll see. I hope you're right, and hope's not a strategy. And I'll make a little joke. It'll probably be one of the more educated people in the room. But don't shake your head. No, okay. But this happens all the time. Why does he keep saying they're going to fuck us? Because they're going to fuck you. It's sad. It's sad. I mean, it's worse than sad. Now, and him playing along and pretending he's like James Bond, and that's fuck. I mean, it's out of his element. And yet, it happens. And we've got bigger sob stories. Like the guy that, wouldn't fight, that I was going to put up the money. So, when I say this, I mean it. You're not there to make friends with these guys and gals. Arm's length. But your inclination will be, especially if some time passes, which is unfortunate. And he could have gotten the shares back to what they were, but the deal's dead. And what he did, either intentionally or unintentionally, because when you write the bank, it kills the deal. I mean, because the bank doesn't want any part of this. And it was a fairly chunky healthcare deal. It would have been a nice deal to start his portfolio with. Comments or questions about this kid? Yes, sir.
When forming the company and the shares in the UK, you've got A shares, B shares, etc. So
these weren't that; these were just plain vanilla, all common shares. A shares and B shares don't save shit. You're the second time you've asked me about that. A, B shares. They don't mean dick. If they want to take the fucking business from me, they can take it. I don't give a fuck if you got 6 classes of shares. All they got to do is go to the fucking bank. Little mealy mouth piece of shit like you, the 300 years of experience, Oxford, Cambridge, probably Harvard on top of it. You're fucked. You're just fucked. But if you follow the steps, you're not fucked. until you do a half a dozen deals, then the bank doesn't give shit what, this is an exaggeration, the bank almost doesn't care what the fuck they tell them after you've done a half a dozen deals and they've made $1 million or $2 million or euros or pounds in fees. Then, you can be, the butcher of Bavaria. They don't give a shit. But, to look at your faces right now, the flies are jumping in your mouth. Now, everybody close their mouth. This is for real. It's a real concern. I'm not beating my chest for nothing. Because then you go on Reddit and say QLA didn't work. You're not going to write down, I was an imbecile, idiot. And the inspector, in this case, Peña told me what to do. I had time to do it. And I didn't. You're not going to write that on Reddit, are you? Oh, I know you will, Doc. I'm sure you will, okay? And so I'm selfishly don't want you to get killed. Selfishly, I don't want you to get chopped up like mincemeat. But it's for real. And it's a real concern, and that's why I beat it to death. Yes, sir.
I think there's a pattern there with all the examples you show us that you see that one, they don't follow the steps and they get personal.
Yeah, well, again, getting personal has never, or friendly, has never been my Achilles heel. For all the reasons you know. My dad's definition of a friend, and you heard the Viking bitch said, if she called me up and we had to bury a body, I'd bury it. Remember that? Well, my dad's definition of a friend, who brings the chainsaw, who brings the lie, who brings the shovel? When you're going to chop somebody up and put him, who brings the chainsaw, who brings the lie, which is, eats up the body, and who brings the shovel? Many, many years ago, I don't know if it was my 35th birthday or something like that. We were having a big party. There had just been my two big Great Danes, males, had gotten in a fight and were chewing each other, and I'm trying to break it up, and I broke a 2x4 over Chewbacca's back, and I stuck a hose up his ass to get him off the other Great Dane. So, this friend of mine showed up with his wife and all kinds of beer and booze for the party, and I go down there, and I'm all full of blood. And he's a lawyer, a criminal lawyer. And he said, Leslie, go back to the market and get some more beer. We got beer. Go back to the market and get some more beer. And he closes the door, and he takes his coat off like this and says, where's the body? Because he thought I chopped my wife up. And we got a lot of work done. And they're going to be here. Everybody's going to be here in an hour and a half. And to this day, I've known this kid forever, ever, ever. It's the only time he's ever been early to a party. Only time. And then his wife comes back, and now she got more beer and more shit. And then we're all laughing about it. And the two Great Danes were but it was almost all of the dog's blood, but it's all over me. They're going to be here. Now, the only time you're going to get called, remember, on New Year's Eve is to bail somebody out of jail for drunk driving or something. But we spend a lot of the seminar telling you the bad things because they happen. They don't just happen out of random once in a while. They happen often. And they normally happen with lack of leadership. I'm not sure this could have been saved even if the guy had great leadership skills. Because some of the groups, especially when you allow them to pick other people on the board, there are groups, in fact, there are groups of people that run around the world scamming morons like you. This is the Winklehouse twins, right? Legitimate guys. The guys to the left of the Winklehouse twins is a scammer extraordinaire, convicted felon that goes around hunting for you. And even though I say this, and I've put this on social media, you still do business with him. Pass him out. You still to this day. Because you can't help yourself. Because the promises he makes you are so fucking outlandish. But what if they came true? What if Peña's wrong? I'm not wrong. That fucker has stung a number of you. Not in this room. So why would you go? Why would you do business with this prick?
I think we want it easy.
And what?
People want it easy.
And the Winkle House guys are smart. And they got conned by him. Not everybody wants to be rich. Believe me. You may think you want to be rich. And it happens all the time. And a lot of guys, not a lot, there's 8 or 10 guys out there, one gal, that are using a reference to me. I don't know who they are. I've seen their name. Reference to me that I have pre-approved or what, it's all horseshit. You know, unless you hear it come out of my lips, I don't prove anything. But there'll be people that will, you know, they will find you. They will hunt you down. And it's normally through LinkedIn. And LinkedIn doesn't have that kind of screen that I'm aware of, convicted felons and shit like that. So I block, when they try to link to you, do you know this person? No, ignore, that. But they're out there. They will be trolling, looking for you. Because my network and my reputation, is pretty big, and the fact that I just trained you. Now, we used to post naively. I don't know what the fuck we were thinking about. In the 90s, graduation, we post them. Fuck, was that a bad idea? I don't know what the fuck possessed me. We stopped. But you liked the fact, because then, because you were associated with me, and this is before LinkedIn, 25 years ago. And so it was an indirect way for you to be associated with me and then find people, big successes so you could, say that you were trained in it. So when we posted you at graduation, they liked the idea. Except then, when people were, hunting them down like vermin, it wasn't such a good idea, so we stopped it. Okay, nothing more about... Yes, sir.
So is it better if the board members don't know each other?
Well, no. Depending where you do this, there's probably 500 to 1,000 potential board members in the UK for healthcare. Okay, there's the Ben Carsons. Ben's not on that list. The Ben Carsons down. You're going to keep not them in the dark, but once you send the executive summary with 2 or 3 people on it, you're leveraging off them to build the rest. And you're leveraging off all the board members to get the accountants and the lawyers. And you're leveraging off all the board members, the accountants and lawyers, and to get accountants and lawyers to get the bank. So it's a building block process. So when they see, and they may have heard, we had an unfortunate thing, I may have mentioned it a number of years ago, where 2 lawyers that hated each other from law school, and they either overlooked or they didn't say anything. They wound up at the board meeting at the Pittsburgh airport, and they ran out of rooms at the airport, and they had a room together at the Pittsburgh airport, 2 in a room. And the idiot, anyway. And it almost came to blows at that board meeting. And then Sally came in right at the right minute, because she comes at the end of the board meeting before we go to dinner. She comes sashaying in, and she diffused everything, but they still don't like each other. But they will know. You don't want to have to explain about who your chairman is in healthcare. You don't want to have to explain about who your CFO is. And the CFO in this group, I still remember, ran the Southwestern United States for a PwC healthcare practice. That's a big guy. 31 years or something like that with PwC. Those kind of guys know everybody and can pick up the phone. Now, don't pick them up, and again, tomorrow when we talk about it, we're not working these guys to death. We want to work them, but use them judiciously. In other words, make sure that you can't get the information yourself first. Because these guys aren't going to be making 25 phone calls for your day. They may make 20 calls for you in your career. In your career. I automatically know when I'm chairman that they didn't look too hard. If they're, some of the questions they asked me, you didn't look too hard. Go back and try again. What does our CFO say? What does the CEO say? What do the two industry experts say? What do our accountants say? What do our fucking lawyers say? Of course, he didn't ask them. You're supposed to use these professionals. Okay, YouTube.